about turkey hunting is you can somewhat control the outcome of your hunt if you do some preseason scouting as well as some in-season scouting. And the way that works, turkeys are habitual animals, so if you can try to pattern them during your preseason scouting, it will give you a good idea for where the turkeys frequent, where they are in the morning, where they are during the afternoon, where they are in the evening. And you can let that carry over to your in-season scouting, because the way that works, if you're planning to hunt, say, today's Tuesday, if you're planning to hunt Wednesday morning, if you can go out and do some scouting the evening before the hunt and find turkeys in the woods or in the fields at a certain time, typically if you locate them right before nightfall, those turkeys will roost in that area that evening. And most people, or many people, don't know that turkeys roost in trees every night. And if you find those turkeys on the edge of a field or walking on a frequently used path into the woods right before dark, then you can assume that those turkeys are going to go right there, find the biggest tree, and roost in that tree or in nearby trees. And as a hunter, if you can set up in close proximity to that roosting location in the morning, you may be able to significantly increase your odds of a successful turkey hunt by catching those turkeys as soon as they come down from the roost, which may be at 5:45 a.m. or 6 a.m. And you could end your turkey hunt very early by closing that distance right off the bat. It's just one of those things that if you put your homework in, then it definitely increases your chance of harvest success.
What are some other factors that you can notice besides turkey roosting to know that the turkeys are close by and it's a good location for you to hunt?
It is important to note what the turkey habits are. During the regular turkey hunting season in Delaware, you can't hunt turkeys past 1 p.m. So if your turkey hunt is unsuccessful that morning, then after 1 p.m., walk through the woods a little bit, take a look around, see what you notice. Take a hard look and observe what else you find. You may find turkey feathers, you may find turkey droppings, you may find scratch marks or dust bowls, because turkeys, like many birds, they sort of dust themselves off to rid themselves of birds and parasites and such, rid themselves of bugs and parasites and such. And they also, when they strut, which means when they fan out their tail feathers and they sort of shake and march around, they try to attract female turkeys or hen turkeys. And when they do that, if they use the same locations over and over, they will create worn out patterns or scratch marks and claw marks and things like that. So if you can locate those areas, you again significantly increase your chances of harvesting a turkey.
So if you see a trail of feathers, increases your likelihood that one is nearby.
At least you know turkeys have been there recently. Whether it was 2 days ago or a week ago, you know that there are turkeys there, because there are some areas where you may not find any turkeys anywhere, and you're probably looking in the wrong spot. I always suggest that if you incorporate your in-season and preceding scouting into your hunts and keep a log book so you remember, or at least you write down and then refer back to where you saw these turkey signs, it's a good place to start. And then you can adapt your hunts as you move forward. If you're in a location today and there's no turkeys there and you see no sign, although you saw some sign earlier in the season, move on, find another location. Because as you know, many males of species do, this time of year turkeys are breeding and they're actively seeking mates. So they tend to walk around and they extend their range looking for female hens to breed. So they may be in one location one day, but they may not be there the next.
So maybe previously you've hunted at a certain location. Is that a good sign too to come back and hunt the following year?
That's a very good question, and it is a good sign. And typically that's where I start my scouting. turkeys, again, as I mentioned, they're habitual. So they may roost in the same trees day after day, year after year. Or within their range, they may have 3 or 4 trees in different locations that they may roost in for most of the time. And it is not uncommon to find a flock of turkeys in the same tree year after year or season after season. And that's always a very good place to start when you're looking for turkeys.
Now, how long have you been hunting turkeys?
I've been hunting turkeys probably for about 10 years. And what's interesting is, although my book, Hunting the First State, is a guide to Delaware hunting, I just started hunting turkeys in Delaware over the past 3 to 4 years, I think. Mainly I hunt turkeys in New Jersey because of where I live. I live in North Wilmington, and there's just not a lot of open land for turkeys in Newcastle County, especially the northern part of Newcastle County. So it's easier for me to drive across the Delaware Memorial Bridge and hunt some public land in New Jersey. And there are a significant number of turkeys in Salem County, New Jersey. So typically I will harvest 1 to 3 turkeys a year in Jersey. And interestingly, and this may come as a shock to many of your viewers, I have yet to harvest a turkey in Delaware. I guided someone a few years back, just as a friend of mine. I did some calling, and I called a turkey right to his doorstep. We were out in the woods, and I brought one in about 10 yards from him. And I wish that was me, because I would have had my first my first Delaware turkey, but I didn't. So I've been trying diligently for the past couple seasons. And since I'm down this end of the state today, I am hunting turkeys in Delaware tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have some better luck tomorrow.
What is the biggest turkey that you've killed?
Turkeys typically, or male turkeys, adult male turkeys, typically range from 18 pounds to maybe 24 or 25 pounds. The biggest one that I shot, that's actually mounted in my house in a full strut mount, but I think he was 23 and a half pounds with a 10 and a half inch beard and 1.25 inch spurs.
Since there's a lot of turkey calls, which are the best ones?
As with all game calls, whether you're talking about turkey calls, goose calls, duck calls, whatever the case is, I don't really endorse any type of call. I don't endorse any brand of call, because it's really about the user and what the user is most comfortable with. I will flat out tell you right now, I could be the worst goose caller on the planet. It's very difficult for me to make a goose call sound like anything more than one goose, and a wounded goose at that. But with turkeys, I typically use a pot type call, which is a flat round piece of wood with the striking surface could be made of slate, could be made of glass, could be made of copper or some other metallic surface. And you can change the sound by using different strikers or wooden sticks that you rub against the pot call, and that friction produces the sound. I think I can get more control and make more sounds with those type of calls. But most importantly, I also use a mouth call, a diaphragm call, because when turkeys are closing the distance and when they're close, you don't want to make extra movements by using your hand calls, your hand-operated calls. So I typically wear a camouflage veil over my face, and I have the diaphragm call in my mouth, and you can call the turkey without making any motion whatsoever. And that's good, because turkeys, they're very intelligent birds. They have very good eyesight, and typically they'll key in on movement before they know what you are. When they feel uncomfortable, they will turn around and run very quickly, or they will fly, which most people don't realize. Turkeys can fly and fly fairly quickly. So using that mouth call is key. When they come in close, a couple more calls may get them to come that extra 5 yards or so. We can get a good shot.
Since they do fly, are they difficult to kill?
Everything is about shot placement. No matter what type of animal you're hunting, shot placement is key. When you're hunting turkeys, especially with a gun versus a bow, but when you're hunting turkeys with a gun, the preferred shot placement is a shot right to the head or the neck and the head. And when you shoot turkeys that way and they're within an effective range of the gun you're using, then that's the most efficient way. They're not difficult to kill as long as the shot placement is correct. They're difficult to hunt because, again, they're wary birds and you have to bring them in close in order to get a shot with the shotgun. Difficult to kill, no, but difficult to hunt, yes. And as a hunter, you must be familiar with the type of firearm you're using. A 12 gauge versus a 10 gauge versus a 20 gauge, different choke tubes, different shot sizes. It's as a hunter, you need to make sure you have that gun patterned in. You know where the effective range stops, and you know what's an ethical shot and what isn't, because you don't really want to wound a bird and not harvest it or kill it and have that bird walking around wounded. And it's just not good for the sport. It's not good as a conservationist either.
Now, the turkey season ends May the 11th. Is there a fine if you kill one out of season?
I'll leave that question up to DENREC, our friends in the DENREC office. Typically, with hunting violations, there could be fines, there could be jail time, there could be different types of punitive edicts that come down from DENREC. Whether it's again, I've heard of people having guns taken, boats taken, depending upon what the violation is. Again, as an ethical hunter, you should not even consider shooting any game out of season, regardless of what it is.
And once you kill it, you need to make sure that you take it to the turkey station right away.
Right. I believe the regulations in Delaware state that if you kill a turkey, then you have to check it in at an official check station by 2:30 p.m. that day. And again, I have never killed one in Delaware, but I do believe that well, I'll tell you what they do in New Jersey. When you check a turkey in New Jersey, they want to know the weight, they want to know the beard length, they want to know the spur length, and the approximate age of the turkey.
We're going to take a first commercial break, as more to come on the Anthony Joseph Sports Show, live at Jimmy's Grill. And we're back live at Jimmy's Grill in Bridgeville. My special guest, Steve Kendis from the News Journal with the Hunter's Journal. And Steve, with the problem in Delaware with the blue tongue disease, how did that affect your hunting this year?
I will tell you that the blue tongue or epizootic hemorrhagic disease had no effect on my hunting. But as someone who has frequent conversations with hunters throughout Delaware, I can tell you that it drastically affected some people. I received several phone calls and several emails throughout the course of the deer season from people who were very concerned because they saw no deer whatsoever. In many cases, they were hunting land that they've had leases on for years or land that they owned, and they're used to seeing 100-plus deer, and many of them saw zero. And I would respond with, hey, I'm seeing the same amount of deer I always see, in some cases more. But as Joe Rogerson from Denrec mentioned when he was on your show a few weeks back, the blue tongue hit hard in certain areas, especially downstate. And I think 2 or 3 deer hunting zones were really affected by it, but it wasn't really prevalent. And from firsthand experience, I saw no adverse effects. And in fact, I typically pass up more deer than most people see because I hunt some suburban areas and yards and things, mainly with a bow. And I had one of my best seasons. I saw more deer this year than I've seen maybe in the past 4.
How many did you kill?
2. And in fact, my daughter Gabriella, I have twin daughters. My daughter Gabriella harvested her first deer this year as well, and that was a big treat for me.
So do you eat the deer, or do you give it away, or what do you do with it?
I will not shoot a deer if I'm not going to eat it, or I know someone else is not going to eat it. I always either keep it or give it away. But I have I have multiple freezers full of game, and I make use of game throughout the year.
Now, you're also the author of Hunting the First Aid. What compelled you to write that book?
Well, a little bit about my background. My degree from the University of Delaware is in English, business, and technical writing. So I've written thousands upon thousands of pages of technical documentation throughout the course of my career. I've written online help systems, training manuals, user guides, and I just figured it was time to do something on my own, something that I enjoyed to do that really spoke to my interests. And I set a goal for myself back in 2007. I set a goal to write the entire book over the summer. So I began writing at Memorial Day and finished the first draft on Labor Day. And that was strictly nights and weekends. I did my own research. I have a little bit of a graphic design background, so I did the page layout, the photography, the cover design, everything. So since then, it's been a tremendous success. The first edition, as I said, came out in 2007. The second edition came out in 2010, and it's been very well received throughout the Delaware hunting community.
I noticed on the website you've hunted ducks, bear, and also a zebra. How difficult was it to kill a zebra?
Well, it's funny you mention that. I get that question a lot, and I'm looking around the room here, and the entire audience is laughing. But I went to South Africa several years ago, and I did not bring a gun. I just brought a bow. So my intention was to shoot all of the game, and it's referred to as plains game, those type of animals, with a bow. So I harvested 2 impala, a warthog, and a wildebeest with the bow. Then I managed to get a kudu, which is a spiral-horned antelope with a rifle. I just could not get close enough with a bow. And the zebra was the most difficult animal to hunt. Their eyesight and their smell is significantly more strong than white-tailed deer are here in the United States, and everyone knows how difficult it is to get close to deer. And it turned out there was no way I could do that with a bow. So it took me a day and a half to harvest the zebra. And I mean, I did shoot it with a rifle with a shot of about probably 125 yards. So it's not as easy as one would think. And in fact, the way hunting in Africa works, much of the tourism dollars spent on the African trips go to the conservation of those species of animal. And it's not like you're depleting the zebra resources. The money that's spent it contributes to preserving that species, and it goes back to the local communities. And the meat you cannot bring back into the United States anyway, so that meat typically goes to the villagers and such. It's just one of those things that I did not want to shoot a lion or an elephant, although you could. And quite honestly, the only reason I did not is because the fee for a lion, I believe, was about $20,000. An elephant was probably twice that. Now, the zebra, if there's any animal that says Africa, equivalent to an elephant or a lion, it's a zebra. And the zebra is mounted in my house. It's beautiful. It's a great conversation piece. People come in. It's the first thing they look at. Because, granted, I have deer and turkeys, and I have the wildebeest and the kudu all mounted. But the big thing that most people go to right off the bat is the zebra. It looks beautiful, and it's a phenomenal trophy.
Is that your most prized amount?
I would say so. Again, just because it speaks Africa. And it's funny, it piqued your interest, and it piques everyone's interest because it's a zebra. So, I mean, I get it, and I'm always willing to have that conversation with anyone and say, believe it or not, it was the most difficult animal to hunt when I was in South Africa.
Now, also I noticed on YouTube you were killing some crows. Do people eat crows?
Well, I've eaten a lot of crow in my day, but that's more figuratively, I think. But literally, people do eat crows. In fact, there's a couple websites devoted entirely to crow recipes. And in Delaware and throughout the United States, there are big dove shoots. People eat doves. And people eat all types of game birds, and crows are just another one of those game birds. You're right. On my YouTube channel, on my huntingthefirst.com website, I have a lot of crow hunting videos. And I just happen to know a few locations throughout the state where there are communal crow roosts, where crows come in by the thousands every night. And if you have a good caller and a good set of decoys, you can really get some good shooting action on crows. But most importantly, it teaches you how to become a much better shot when you shoot crows. It's not like going to the range and shooting clay pigeons that fly in a straight line, or you know that they're going to behave in an orderly fashion. These are live birds, live targets that are great for teaching you how to wing shoot. And people do eat crows, and they taste very similar to what doves taste like.
What is the wildest story that you have? Because you've been to Africa. You must have one of those outrageous stories.
I have a ton of stories, and perhaps if I come back sometime I can tell some more. But I can give you one that's appropriate that we can link back to today's conversation with regard to turkey hunting. I was turkey hunting in New Jersey probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And turkey hunting is a very early morning endeavor. So you're out of the house 3 a.m. You're setting up before dawn. And I put my decoys on the edge of the field, and I lean against a tree at the edge of the woods. And I start falling asleep. The sun's coming up. My eyes start shutting. And I saw an eagle fly over. I just barely saw him disappear behind me into the woods, over the trees. I shut my eyes, and what felt like a second later, I hear it sound like an explosion or a gunshot. So I dived down, and I'll demonstrate. I dived down like this, thinking someone was shooting at me or shooting at my decoys. And I look at my decoy, and I see that the bald eagle swooped down and tried to take my turkey decoy off of the field. It was an inflatable decoy, so when his talons hit that, it popped like a balloon. And that's what the sound was, and I thought it was a gunshot, but it was just a turkey decoy.
Well, we're all out of time. I'd like to thank my special guest, Steve Kendis. You've been listening to the Anthony Joseph Sports Show, live at Jimmy's Grill in Bridgeville.
Thank you.